Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining this episode of XTalks. We are just going to wait for a minute or two for everyone to join and we'll kick this one off. Cryptonaut, can we do a quick sound check before we begin?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, while we wait for everyone else to join, I just want to let you know that if you guys have any sort of questions for our speakers, or if you would like to come up on stage, share your opinion or anything else, then you can comment down in the
Yes, hello.
comment
Can you hear
section.
me okay?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so just put everything in the comments and I'll bring it up. I'll keep an eye. All right, looks like everyone has joined. Uh, do you want to kick this one off, Cryptonaut?
Yeah, let's get this going. Welcome, everybody, to episode 30 of X Talks powered by Layer 1 Blockchain. Thank you for being here and listening in. My name is Cody. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X, and I will be your host for today's episode. Let's see here. I'm joined by Sam. Sam is one of our main lead community managers here at Layer 1X, so we're excited to have him as my co-host today. So before jumping in, let's for our returning listeners to the AMA series, welcome back. To our new listeners, the XTalks AMA series is a free platform designed to for both new and existing projects across all different chains. And we're provide a platform for them to talk about their projects, their expertise, vision of what a united Web3 might look like, type of thing. So we're excited to have our panelists today. Um, and yeah, so before that, one other house thing is to remind everybody to mark their calendars for our next X Talk episode. That'll be happening on the 15th of March at 8 a.m. AWST time or 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be an in-house special, looks like. And that'll be a special topic on why UI UX matters. And I'll definitely be having one guest, maybe two guests joining me on that one from the L1X design team. So if you wanted to meet the team behind the L1X app, now's the time to come over and listen in and meet the team. So, all right, let's jump in. Thanks, panelists, for joining us on today's topic, which is going to be on combining digital identity and DApps. Should be a good one. So let's kick this thing off. And if everybody could introduce themselves, that would be great. And just tell us a little bit about your project. Basically, give us your 30-second elevator pitch on what you guys are up to in crypto today. That would be great. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm happy to get the ball rolling. Hello, everyone. I'm Graham Hampton from AML Bot. I'm an AML advisor and also involved with digital identification and sit as a co-chair with INAPBA. So as a company, we provide AML solutions, KYC and KYT, pre-screening, and loss for investigations. Although we do have lots of interest in the topic and the fields and matters all surrounding everything crypto. So many of the employees involved in third-party organizations like yourself here. So we can sort of open up the forum and discuss these topics because they're very current. There seems to be a lot of activity now, specifically with digital ID. It's not a new topic, but I think recently it's really starting to pick up its pace again. for many reasons. So hopefully that's a quick intro to me, and I'll hand over to the next person.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having us as a guest. This is Spicy Capital. This is Shibsy Baker behind the account. I'm the CMO over here. We are a VC fund in the crypto space. And yeah, it's been a wicked week for us so far, man. We've been cooking up this week. It's only Tuesday, but we've had a few people that we've partnered with that are going to be listing and launching their IDOs and stuff. So it's going to be a very bullish week for sure in the market. We came up from East Denver, had a great time there. Looking forward to going to more events. But once we invest and we partner with the projects, we usually always supply complimentary marketing support if needed as a complimentary service. So there's no extra charge for that because we want the best for the project at the end of the day, right? So yeah, VC fund in the crypto space, we have our eyes on a lot of different fields in the market. So everything from infrastructure, layer 1, layer 2s to gaming to, you name it, we're involved. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you again to the Layer 1X guys as well for having us as a guest. Once again, this is it's a great space. Looking forward to the rest of it, and it's really cool to see some familiar faces on the stage and in the audience as well, man. This is going to be a vibe.
Can go next.
Hey guys.
Oh, you can go next,
Okay.
Rams. Go ahead.
Thanks, Louis. Awesome. Hey, folks. Rams here. I'm the co-founder of Play AI, which we've been building in stealth for the past few months. We are actually coming out very soon this month. To keep it short, we are building, as the name suggests, in the intersection of gaming and AI, particularly with respect to the subject today, right? The ID or some sort of like an intelligence layer for players that they can transport across games, right? So imagine you have your gaming IDs or gaming experiences across Web 2 and Web 3, which you can port over, and it can help you progress very quickly and bring your experiences across DApps. So what we are talking about today exactly sort of matches what we are building, and there's even more happening at Play AI. I would love to share that to all of you later. But first of all, thanks to Layer 1 and the team here to organize this, and great to meet all of the speakers and the listeners here as well. Awesome. Louis, over to you.
Thank you, Rams. Hi, so my name is Luis and I'm the co-founder of IDOS. We call the identity layer of Web3. First of all, thank you Layer 1X for inviting us. Very looking forward to talk today about digital identity, more specifically about decentralized identity. Basically what we have created is a network where decentralized identifiers can live in Web3 and can be owned by users to be shared around Web3. That's anything going from KYC to any sort of proof of personhood or anything that basically identifies ourselves. Currently, we are relying on Web2 ways of sharing our identity on the web, and basically means that few companies own our data, and we're here to hopefully change that soon.
I'll go next. GM everyone. My name is Jeffrey. I'm the co-founder of DigiCask. And just to introduce DigiCask, DigiCask is a whiskey tokenization platform. And our groundbreaking technology is being built on Solana network. And our technology is obviously focused on the tokenization of whiskey cask, hence enabling liquidity within this niche market and accessibility to people to actually invest into whiskey as an alternative source of investment. And we're happy to be here and obviously share more about our project. And yeah, thanks to Layer 1 for having us too.
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Lawrence Hudson, co-founder of Adelunum. We're an accelerator and a launch pad based on some different criteria that current launch pads don't have. I developed some of the original launch pads back in the day, and we had a little different solving some of the problems with launch pads that get qualified and good investors to invest in the projects. And we have probably 40 to 50, something in that area of projects in the queue waiting for this next bull market, which is already, wow, well underway. Maybe not well underway, but it's underway. So yeah, that's my background.
I guess it's down to me. Hi, my name's Upcar. Handle is Zip1979. I've been in the crypto space since 2012. And seen lots of different things. So I have an interest in security, AI, and also decentralized identity. I previously did actually work with the people at IDOS when they were called Fractal, and I ran their ambassador program. So I know them, and that's kind of what I do in the space. I'm head of community outreach and strategy for Babs Labs, a female-led marketing company in Web3. And I've set up all kinds of different communities and helped lots of projects grow. I guess some of the ones you might know, like Ocean Protocol, and then we're working with some other ones that you may see. So that's kind of what I do, is focus on community and have an interest, as I said, in decentralized identity, AI, DeFi, and related fields. So that's it from me.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for taking 30 seconds and introducing yourself. Definitely sounds like we've got a good group of panelists put together for our topic today. For those that are just tuning in, my name is Cody. I am the Chief Experience Officer here at Layer 1X. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about combining digital IDs and DApps. So, thanks, panelists, for joining. Let's get ready to go. Before we do, let's just jump in and just kind of talk about the format. You don't need to raise your hands to speak. Just feel free to jump right in at any point in time in the discussion. Likewise, just please be mindful for the others that are trying to join. We don't want to hog the mic, but let's leave some time for everybody to give some thoughts on everything. So, with that being said, let's dive in. So the first kickoff question, I guess you could say, is self-sovereign identity a utopia dream, or is it actually becoming a practical necessity? Will we be able to strike a balance between user empowerment, centralized control, and regulatory compliance? Who wants to go first?
I can start. I was the co-founder of Travelocity, or you guys know as an Expedia, first travel site ever done. We came up with the concept at that time of using an email address that was back in 1995 as your identifier, or that's your username basically. So this problem has existed for a long time, and in my opinion, nobody's cracked that nut yet. That's why we have KYC and all those kind of things. We're waiting for a decentralized ID identification solution. From the very beginning, I said it was simply your private key, but there's some issues with that as well. So how we live? I'm really bringing up more of the problem. So this problem has existed since the beginning of the internet, and we live in a day now where basically in the technological or the internet world, the Web3 world, where your identity is just not really known. And so just to kind of set the stage, that nut has not been broken yet or cracked. And we desperately need it in our space, in our Web3 space. And it'll be interesting to see how the different speakers here think we're going to solve that. So, so that's my kind of introduction. It's been a problem for a long time. It's still a problem. The whole password, username, hairball, and looking for a great solution to solve this problem. Yep.
I think in response also, I would like to add that personal sovereignty is essentially what attracted myself to crypto in the first place when I sort of discovered my personal sovereignty. So when looking at data and I'm going digitalized, I still want control of that. I still want to be able to say, let's say, if I go into a club these days, they don't ask me my age anymore, unfortunately. But let's say they did. I would like to be able to just select, that's my date of birth. You can scan that, and that's the QR code, and there's my proof. And it's on a decentralized or centralized system. I would like to be able to do that digitally. So having the options and the choices, and I still regard it as my money. I regard it as my ID, my data, and it's how that's controlled through such a massive system, even at ecosystem level, or whether it's at national level, or even the thought of international identification is mind blowing, really, especially when you come from such a rules and regulated environment. I come from Europe, from UK. And then I meet people from all around the world when I go to different places, and they don't even really have a banking system. So to be able to go from one spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, where I come from very strict controls, and they come from an area where there's not even central banks, and this is now creating opportunity for them. The possibilities are endless, but effectively it still has to come down to a functional level. And I want to have my data safe. I want to have my investments safe. And how we do that in a digital form is given, I'm not a developer, but it's certainly given developers a lot to think about and how that's created. So great opening to the question, Lawrence. I think that's essentially where it started and what direction it's sort of unfolding as we develop. We're having this big conversation within ABRA currently. It's really a topic of decentralized versus centralized, and it's almost like which one is going to be the reality. So thanks for listening.
I agree fully with Lawrence and GH, and I think that they are right. Like, this is something that many people want. This is something that has not been cracked yet. Like, the centralized identity was mentioned the first time in 2016. There has been hundreds of millions invested in companies that are doing something about the centralized identity, and we haven't succeeded yet. But in my opinion, that's going to change, and actually it's probably going to change sooner than we think. And mainly it's because of two reasons. Regulation is just going to increase. When it comes to KYC, when it comes to AML in the digital world, it's going to increase. And nobody likes to do KYC or pass through AML process. Nobody likes that. People identify themselves because they want to access somewhere or do something. And it's much better if we come up with a system that can be reusable. And reusability is much easier if the one that makes a decision about reusing that data is the user, not companies that want to basically keep their walled gardens. So for me, this is the first reason why we're actually going to see a decentralized identity system coming up relatively soon. And the second thing is for complying with regulations. And here it's not only basically data handling regulations, it's also AML regulations, financial regulations that are different in different countries. To be able to manage all this, it's always better if the user is the one that is in charge and the one that is sharing consent for their data. So putting those two things in perspective, I think that there's going to be a push, first of all, coming within Web3 for applications to use systems that are privacy preserving, that all allow the user to have their data. But second, I think I don't want to say a time frame, but I would say 3 to 5 years, we're actually going to see Web2 companies that are taking systems built using blockchain and Web3 technologies and implement them in the real world. So that's something I'm very excited and looking forward to. And to be honest, I'm very certain it's going to happen.
I think this idea of a decentralized entity is going to be more and more important as we enter a new paradigm of the economy. I think the attention economy is becoming more and more relevant and important as we enter the age of AIs and agents doing more and more things. And as I see that future unfolding, people will want to know that the intention and things that they're paying for and incentivizing is coming from real people. And I see that the existing solutions for digital types of identity, they don't work very well if you think about it's just agents and bots doing different things and checking things, the speed of that. And what Luis was talking about, privacy preserving, I think that a decentralized identity or some kind of token that we can use so that we can ensure that those incentives are going to the right people, that is the future, and it's something that's important.
Great point, Zippy. Adding on to what you just mentioned, especially regarding the AI part of things, right? Data is sort of like the oil right now. We've all heard that, and we have seen all these big companies scraping the whole internet, getting through every part of data that they get their hands on, and training models and profiting off of it. So it is very important for creating privacy preserving data layers for identity. And in my opinion, most of the approaches that we see in Web3 right now, even though we love our connect wallet buttons in every Web3 site, is very antithetical to what normal users are used to. You don't ask your normal users to expose your money or your wallet to show your identity. In normal Web 2, your money is separate, your identity is separate, and that sort of creates a sense of security for them, which in our case, since everything is inside a single wallet, it creates a lot of difficulties. I've seen a couple of products who are creating decentralized identity packages or data packs, which is kind of separates the money component from the identity component. And I believe that something like that is very important to build this whole decentralized identity layer for Web3 and for tech in general. And I envision something similar to how the TCP/IP protocols became the common thing across the internet. We're gonna see something very soon similar to that. We already have something like WorldCoin, which I would say is too centralized. So looking forward to someone who's bootstrapping something in a more decentralized manner.
I think we have to look at it in two different ways, because I get the whole thing where everyone wants decentralized identity. Like most people I speak to, they're all for the decentralized way of things and whatnot, and that's fair. I get it because it's privacy and all that good stuff. But let's be real. At the end of the day, if you are gonna look at this like long term, it's gonna have to be both. Binance in the UK, we can't withdraw to our bank cards anymore. So if you want to withdraw on Binance, you have to do peer-to-peer transaction, which means that you are sending your crypto to someone across the world that you don't know to then send it to your bank account, which is, I'm sorry, I'm never going to use that ever in my life. I'll never do that. The main reason is because I don't know who this other guy is. However, let's say I have a friend in the space and I need to offload like, I don't know, 10 grand or 50 grand or whatever it is I need to offload, but I need to do a peer-to-peer transaction. Yeah, I'll message my friend. I'll say, hey, look, bro, I'm going to send you X, Y, and Z. Can you do blah, 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 and send it? We all know the lingo, right? I don't need to go into all the steps. But long story short, he's going to do his thing. I'm going to send him the funds, and that's fine. Why? Because I know who he is. So when it comes to decentralized identity, I think it's got to be decentralized to the point where it's not everyone knowing about what's going on. I get some people want to get into different transactions and stuff and make their money, because let's face it, most of the stuff is for making money. They want to make their money, and sometimes people don't want to be seen making 50, 100 racks in a few minutes or whatever it is that they're doing, and they want to be able to send it back and forth without anyone suggesting this or suggesting that. So that's the decentralized element. Okay, cool. Privacy, right? Because there's two sides to decentralized. The side of decentralized is it's open to everyone. The entire blockchain is open to everyone, which isn't really as private as people think, because it doesn't take long for someone to figure out that someone's ENS is linked to that wallet address, and then you can find out that person's net worth in crypto. So in terms of decentralization, it's very open. But the other side of it is that private identity, where the corporations don't know who you are, right? So we're already working with both at the moment, but I think it's got to be both to the point where the company, or maybe a sector of that company, can see certain transactions happening, and the people involved are the only other people that can see it. So let's say, for example, me, Rams, and Lewis, we're going to make a transaction. Only us three can see and know what's going on at all times. Us three may have a multi-sig or whatever the setup is, and then maybe the company or the code can see what's going on, and then that's it. That way, it's centralized to the point of I know who these guys are. Obviously, I don't know them in person. I'm just using them as an example, but I know who they are. I know where the money's going or where the money's coming from, and then the decentralized part is no one else can actually see. It's private, and then we can keep our business or whatever we're doing completely separate, and all that good stuff. But I think it's going to take a while for that kind of idea to actually manifest into reality, because so many people are still very stubborn and stuck on, no, we want full decentralization, we want full autonomy, full control. And it's like, well, you can't have that, because the blockchain is technically, it's open, everyone can see everything, so it's not actually as private as you think. But yeah, that's my take on this whole thing.
I'm gonna go next. For us, the decentralized identity still has sometimes for it gets matured, mainly because compliance and regulation might differ from country to country. Is it indeed needed? Yes. Well, absolutely. I would like to see this. Absolutely, but I would like to see it soon, and we want to see this field to actually change. In our case, DigiCask, for example, we have a mixture of on-chain and off-chain to verify identity and do our AML checks. And also the flow for decentralized and education around it is for adoption to might pose some challenges. And the reason why it's easy for controlled bodies such as the government is that they are able to make people on board if they need access to this infrastructure. So for us, we think it's a challenge, but obviously there's actually room for improvement in the future.
100% agree with all of you guys. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think if you were listening intently, you could definitely pull out kind of a couple of different themes here. One is that it definitely is a siloed experience, and there is definitely a need for a uniformed infrastructure. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of great projects out there that are creating, these different solutions to the problem, as Lawrence mentioned at the very, very beginning. And we're all trying to solve it. In my opinion, it won't happen until we all decide to come together and work together, regardless of the chain, regardless of the progress we're trying to make. We won't hit that uniformed infrastructure until we do. Likewise, there was the other theme of user data control, allowing the user to be over their own data and that kind of stuff as well. And so, that's one thing that we're trying to solve with Layer 1X through our XTalk capability, being able to be bridgeless in the sense that we're able to kind of not only move assets, but basically be able to move data and logic as well, which is imperative when it comes to establishing a DID kind of infrastructure for everybody to kind of tap into. So one follow-up question to that is, with crypto being anonymous, this came up quite a few times as well. Being anonymous, how do you overcome user skepticism about sharing their identity in a crypto space that's supposed to be 100% anonymous? And I know that Spicy Capital brought up that it's not so anonymous, but that's kind of the stigma that we've kind of gathered with crypto is that anonymous. How do we build trust in these systems that we're building enough for them to either want to KYC and provide their data. How do we go about doing that, overcoming that skepticism?
Okay, so let me clarify just for a second the problem. Okay, so when the internet first came out, and most of these apps that were on the internet were, you know, we didn't even have the concept of using an email, right? So you made up your username, which, you know, you would go through the process of wow, I want this username Lawrence. Oh, that's taken. Okay, I want Lawrence 5364. That's taken. And so you go through this whole process. And now, so that and what that the solution that we ended up coming up with was, guess what? Microsoft is going to house my data. They're going to house my ID. They're going to house this thing. Google's going to do the same thing. X is going to do the same thing. All of these, you know, pre Web3 type of things, they got it. You're trusting them with your, not even talking about international, you know, one country's at war with another country. You know, who are you going to trust, right, on this level? But bringing it back to now at the decentralized portion of it is the fact that if you're writing a DApp, right, okay, and you want it to be totally decentralized, how when you get ready to store the user's data, because you need something about that person, right, with for him to be able to, so quote, log into the system. Okay, so without a database, which is centralized, right, which is how it's done today with Facebook and everybody controlling your data, selling your data, all that kind of stuff. Without a database, how does that happen? It has to be a call somewhere in the decentralized world of Web3, that all DApps can use, and then get the portion of data that the user's willing to give you. And that's the problem, right? It doesn't exist, because if I'm writing a complete decentralized application, I don't have a database. So how I'm really speaking more to the problem. How do we solve that problem? You know, and not only that, think of it across networks where, you know, where basically, you know, if you think of the blockchain and all the different blockchains, it would be like thinking in the beginning of you know, the internet. If, let's say there's, you know, if I want to look up something about horses, I go to the horse internet. If I want to look up something about, you know, a certain business or commercial, you go to that internet. So, well, that doesn't even make sense, right? That's, the internet wouldn't have developed. So how do we solve the problem of a decentralized application that, quote, has no database, which, by the way, they all do in the background, because there's no other way to do it? And how do we solve that? And yeah, so that's the uh, problem. And let's see if somebody has the answer.
Yeah, I don't think there is answers, Lawrence. I don't think there's like black and white answers, is there? You're right. It's really what can work and what won't work. If you look at a secrecy haven as a country, generally they don't progress very quickly. If you look at a country that's very transparent, that has lots of investment coming in, because the investor has more trust in this country, then that's just like looking backwards in time of what's been successful with. I think when this comes up as decentralized, I think that's very different to transparency. Ethereum has proven to be very successful through transparency. If somebody wants to use a closed private network, it's because they're either extremely wealthy and they don't want their information to be floating around the internet, or it's because they might be a bad actor. So different products, different systems will attract different people. But I think if we're looking for progress and for development, we need transparency, we need investment, and I think those two things come together without those two things, we just stay still, and we're probably having this conversation in 10 years' time.
I agree with the points. I think it makes sense to talk about something that I call layers or levels of identity as well. Like not all data is the same. Like you have the non-unique identity that you have on the internet. In Web 2, call it your email or your meta profile. In Web 3, call it your wallet address. And that is one layer that nobody has a problem to share as long as it doesn't link to additional layers. There's a second layer, which would be the unique identity. So the one where you need to prove that you are only one in that system and that you are a human being. That's a little bit more tricky, but still it's something that people usually don't have a problem proving as long as they don't need to put a picture of themselves anywhere. And then there's the third layer, which is what we also call private identifying information, which is what is needed for compliance, for KYC, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the one that is problematic. Because if you link, sorry, I don't know your name, I'm going to call you Spicy Capital. What the Spicy Capital was saying is that we actually have a lot of information about our behaviors, the amount of money that we have in Web3 and what do we use it for. It's very easy to index. I don't know if you have looked at the Web3 CRMs, but they actually have a lot of information of wallets, sometimes linked to profiles as well, social profiles. So that is where it gets a little bit scary. But imagine that that was linked to all your KYC information. So to your full name, where you live, et cetera, and that's the real problem. And there's a principle in anyone that is on the third layer of compliance identity in Web3, which is that you don't put this private identifying data in a public chain. And that is the challenge, also linking to what Lawrence was saying at the beginning, which is that you have a world where you have Web3, how it works with DApps, with wallets, et cetera, and then you have a bunch of information that is important for this to operate, but you cannot put that information into the same system. And that's where it becomes very, very tricky.
Yeah, I think I can just come back in again with something there. I think KYC term is very loosely used. People are using this as identification and verification. KYC has a lot more to it than that. It's actually an ongoing risk assessment of somebody's financial position, the country they live in, the industry they work in. It's an ongoing risk rating. So what you're saying is with a risk-based approach, that a risk score is very active and it's in flux, and it's an updated thing every day on someone's risk score, and that's got so many factors coming into it that how can you even put this on to open to the public? It's that's beyond my thinking. I can't understand how that would work.
Well, I mean, you're talking about two different problems here. So, to me, originally, the self-sovereign ID, which provides control of your data, was a solution. The problem is it doesn't solve the whole problem. I mean, if you look at ideally, what I want to do is go to the airport. When they want to know who I am, when they look at my wallet, they know who I am, just enough information to give them, what it is. So the two problems is your data, which everybody now owns, and then identifying yourself in some way. Like from a login perspective, I'm just logging in. I just want you to know who I am without being in a decentralized manner. So the two kind of different problems that we're trying to solve here.
No,
yeah. So,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to come back to the original question, which was, the question that you asked was, what would encourage people to use, KYC and digital identity and those kind of things in a crypto environment, which is, largely anonymous and has these kind of, cyberpunk values. That's I was thinking about that, and why do I do it personally? And it's just the value proposition of like providing that information in terms of what I can get out. And I think sometimes it's very unclear, and sometimes it's also largely optimistic. So, for example, with companies that we Web2, what they're really offering to you as a consumer, as a service, it's worth less to them compared to the data that you're providing to them, and that's how they run their business. I would just think that, like in Web3, this value proposition of okay, I want to provide an identity token to access a certain service, then I need to see that that service is valuable and providing something back to me. I think we need to make that clearer to people, that those alternatives that are gated with decentralized entity are offering a better service and greater value than the more anonymous versions. And I would not like to see a future where there's both don't coexist. They need to coexist, and we need to be clear about differentiation.
Looking at the question, like Zippy said, see, there are only two major ways which I see you can compel someone to do it, right? One is monetary or any other kinds of incentives. And number two is out of necessity, because there is no other way to do it. And we all know that the monetary or incentive type of approach will always have bad actors taking over it. Again, coming back to my previous example of WorldCoin, which you might have seen that people are getting paid to do fake identifications, and the people who are making them do it profit off of it. So we can probably keep aside the whole monetary incentivization side of things if we are to do, or if we are to envision a way where we do this properly. Now, the second method, the out of necessity, in Web3, there are multiple protocols, multiple products creating these DIDs. But to be very frank, we have to understand the ground reality, which is billions and billions of users are across all the Web2 socials and Web2 apps and Web2 software and banks and all kinds of software across the internet, right? And those are the people who actually have to come into masses into getting into this DID, and that only works on a more I would say a government level or a policy level, and probably one of the leading countries, or maybe the European Union, as they have a lot more privacy focused approach, would have to come forward and sort of champion a cause to make things more equitable in terms of identity or privacy, right? And again, I'm not vouching, or I'm not happy fan of governments taking control over this, but um, some sort of a policy to compel all these big organizations to create or be part of such a protocol layer, and give that privacy layer to the users is the only way I feel users will get onto it, because in that case there would be no other way for the users to access their apps. And why this would be good for the companies, or why would they comply to it? That is a whole another question. Maybe there should be some kind of give and take, or a trade-off between what they are having right now and what they would achieve with something like this.
No, I agree with that. One thing that I would definitely state, along with your comment about having, government regulation come in, I'm of the fan that we need to take the initiative, and what I mean by we is the developers, the projects within Web3 need to take the initiative and build out a uniformed infrastructure that will kind of start and set the stage. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the only time we ever really want government regulation coming into this stuff is usually when we can't govern ourselves, or we rely on their quote unquote expertise, which oftentimes is not always the best case or has the best narrative type of thing. But that's the thing that I think we all need to wake up to, is that we have the capabilities of setting our own standard without their need of stepping in. And if we can drive that in narrative, there's good possibilities for us to influence government decision around what we're building and the importance of it, and the the use cases that can come along with that. So that's what I would just say to that. And then I think it was Lawrence that was also mentioning, a few minutes ago about, or somebody was mentioning about, a lot of your information being public out there. It's interesting because if you look at how anytime you interact on the Web 2 space, you're always leaving little bits of information known as digital footprints, right? And so, I mean, regardless if you feel your information is going to be public on the chain, it already is public in what we're doing right now. And I mean, proof from cases, these data aggregators that are compiling all of these different user personas, profiles on you, all just from gathering all of your digital footprints as you kind of walk across the internet and everything that you do. So, I mean, regardless if you think that it's centralized or not, it's all there's so much public data out there. And then even if it is, a lot of them are selling to these data aggregators as well and buying from data aggregators. So, I mean, really, what's the big difference there between a blockchain versus that when it comes to the public being able to view your data? There's not too much. The only difference there as well is that there is a layer of anonymous layer to it that allows you to hide behind some aspects of it, but I think that there's a lot more opportunity for us to kind of innovate in that space to protect ourselves even more so than we are in Web 2. So thanks everybody for your comments and thoughts on that. Graham, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to say that I think what everyone is missing is the definition when it comes to the regulator. We clearly need to have a direction on what they're looking to regulate. And at the moment, we don't even have that. So people are sort of scrambling around in the dark. So hopefully some clarity over the next 24 months will start to present itself starting with the definitions. I think it was really just...
Also, I was just thinking of it because you've got a lot of bad players in this space, and most people are kind of wary about the crypto space because of some bad actors. And what good projects can do is that they can bring use cases around transparency over time. So this improves like trust in this space. And another thing that I thought of was obviously incentives towards this, just like with Google login. Because of the ease for social login, you've got that incentive for people. So what incentives can decentralized identity play in this case? And I think it's something that that should be focused on with regards to incentive, so that overall user experience is made easier and makes life easier for everyone, basically.
Totally agree. Yeah, so I just wanted to pause. We're about halfway through, a little more than halfway through. Thanks everybody for joining us as we kind of go into our last little bit here. If you guys have any questions for our panelists, please be sure to drop those in the comments, and Sam, our co-host, will definitely be watching for those so that he can present those to our panelists for to grab an answer for you. So as just got a couple of follow-up questions here, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. So the next question I kind of want to go into is more so around what are the possibilities? Let's just say we were able to come up with a uniformed infrastructure around digital identity. What are the types of possibilities that could open itself or present itself when seamlessly integrating with DApps? Things like frictionless logins, reputation building. What does that future look like in your mind?
Okay, I'd like to comment on that. from a practical perspective in the Launchpad business. So there's when somebody gets on a whitelist to join a Launchpad or an IDO, one of the practical problems that we face now is I can't have you on that allocation if you're a United States citizen. Okay. So, I'm sure you could use some sort of VPN or something to fake, where you live or something like that. But point is, I've got to be able to identify that. And then I've got to be able to have released the exact amount of information that I want to that decentralized app that runs the IDO that I'm eligible to participate in this launch of this token. So how do I do that? And if you go back to Bitcoin for 1 second, it doesn't matter what country you're in or where you are, I can send you Bitcoin, right? That's the whole beauty of this new monetary system. But so it's got, looking to the future, it's got to be something like that. And it's got to be where I can choose, and the blockchain is it's not anonymous, but it's pseudo anonymous, right? So and depending on what blockchain you're on, so there's a practical solution that information can be encrypted. Nobody has to have access to it, but how do I do that? And from a blockchain perspective, how do I do it? And so there's the identity portion, which has to be across all blockchains, right? Because I don't know where I'm building my DApp. And then there has to be some way of my data being encrypted somewhere on some non-centralized blockchain that I can release the exact amount of, I can choose check block. I want to release my country. That's it. And now I've got a solution. I go in, I know who you are. I know where the allocation is going. I don't necessarily know anything about you except the fact that you're not from the United States. So that to me kind of is the vision of overall. It's a vision of blockchain and Bitcoin in particular, because it doesn't matter where you're at, I can send you Bitcoin. So if we could come up with something like that, and we will, that the solution's there. It's just I just don't think that, well, it's not, the solution's possible. It's there. We just have to come up with the right mechanism to do it, and it has to be across everything. So that's my point on that.
I think that reusability of identifiers is the killer use case here. It's what we can enable. In the real world, you maybe get your passport from, maybe rather centralized parties called states, but they give you your passport. You have your passport for 5 years or 10 years, depends when it expires. And then you can use that. You have it in your bag. You can connect it anywhere. This doesn't exist on the internet. Like on the internet, you don't have identifiers that are private to you unless you show them, and you can bring them around. It just doesn't exist. Like how many times did you, if you were in Web3, how many times in the last year you had to KYC with different companies or different exchanges? And also, how many times did you started the process with to join a platform that you like, and midway you either dropped it because you didn't want to fill in another form, or simply your verification took more than 24 hours and you gave up? This is a very large cost for individuals in terms of UX, but also for companies that are offering services in terms of customer acquisition cost. Now imagine that you could go to any DApp, and as you connect your gate, and then it will ask you, this DApp wants to know, taking the example of Lawrence, that you are not from the US. And then basically you would be able to say yes, share private data information with this DApp, and then you would be good to go. And I think that that's what it enables. It's something that we can just connect everywhere, where you can also selectively share different levels of identity, and what I think that we're going to build very soon.
Yeah, I like what you had to say there, Louis. To kind of answer Lawrence's questions about identity solutions that are cross-chain and being able to have that decentralized solution. It sounds like Lewis and us at Layer 1X are definitely tackling those kind of questions. In fact, that's basically like how we've designed it, is because we are truly bridgeless interoperability across chain, EVM and non-EVM chains. We're able to not only pass assets, but we're also able to pass data and logic. And so when people create their digital identities on Layer 1X, it doesn't matter the chain or the game or the Layer 2, Layer 3 that you're engaging with. You'll be able to take your digital identity wherever you go. Likewise, the way we've built the standard for projects that are coming on to us and building as a Layer 2, Layer 3, they are able to tap into those identities automatically. And so for us, what that resonates to is the ability for users to own and control their data, in the sense that what Lawrence was just talking about, like only being able to share that they're from the US, they can do that with being able to control what data a project or an individual might have with them and be able to revoke that access at any given time. And so we feel like that's helping to start the standard of creating that unified infrastructure for creating a good digital identity. Does have to start with the at the blockchain level, and so that it can be widely adapted across the whole ecosystem, including crypto. Graham, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I think the race is on for sure, because at government level, they're putting out that they want all member states, particularly in Europe, to respond with their digital wallet solutions. All different languages, different countries, different rules, but that's active now. Estonia, the first country, I think, first or second, to respond with their digital ID wallet solution, which is blockchain based. It doesn't cover passport, but it covers things like driving license and academical qualifications, medical records and things like this. So let's say you had a child today, that information is registered from the hospital straight onto the system, and your payment could be, if you're getting support from some kind of system that allows for family allowance, then when you see this sort of active, then there's a benefit. There's people will culturally start to adapt very quickly to that. So there's a cultural change that's needed. And I think when you see these sort of blockchain systems working, and you see that things happen a lot quicker, and you don't have to go and queue in an office for an hour, then there's starting to be a benefit. I bet also Apple and Google are also in this race, and they're investing huge sums of money because they want to create their ecosystem. So you become an Apple. Everything you do will be through their system. You won't need to go outside it. So the race is on really about the either it's regulated or centralized or decentralized, unregulated, whatever it is. There's and the DApp system, an ecosystem in itself. So once you're on this DApp system, you've got identification that you can share between different open source activities. Then and there's a way to say, look, this is me, this is who I am. I'm good to go. Then great, because essentially this is how it started with coming from compliance. There was always the challenge of sales and marketing was pro-business, and it always was deemed that regulations are anti-business. But effectively, it was healthy for the business to have this balance. So essentially, when you're looking at trying to create better solutions for the company, then that works. But if you're going to put the company at risk by doing it, then it doesn't work. And I think that's where countries are now. Because what they're finding is that it's no longer just about customer service. It's now about AI. I think it was last week, someone presented a passport. It was AI that did it. It went through the screening. They thought it was a positive match. And now we're dealing with new challenges already. So the challenges are only getting bigger and thicker. So there's more need for digital ID that's presenting itself. There was a meeting last week with 20 people in an investment court. The investor was absolutely sure that all those 19 people were real, and let go of 250K. So none of them were real. So had he been able to do some due diligence and check these people out that were in there and get a green light to say, yeah, that's that person, yeah, all green lights ready to go. I know it sounds like I'm trying to cram everything into a very small box, but essentially there's many different sectors now all trying to achieve something, and for good reason. So it's not just pie in the sky. It's not a dream. It's actually becoming a necessary requirement to know who you're dealing with online. It's not just a fantasy.
No,
Thanks.
Yeah, no, great insight. We totally agree with you. We've partnered with OmChain to bring 15 million to 20 million Turkey citizens' digital identities online for them through the partnership with the government there. And likewise, we're working with the second largest provider in Singapore for healthcare. So yeah, you definitely hit it right on the nose in those two aspects, that healthcare and government documentation is definitely a need. And so it's great that that most of these sectors are starting to think about it. And a lot of people don't realize that even in the real world component, a lot of our healthcare systems, the bigger companies are already leveraging blockchain technology to try to protect a lot of their information. And a lot of their clients and users don't even know that they're using blockchain. So it's definitely starting to become mainstream there. So we're about out of time, but I definitely wanted to ask one last question. And if you wouldn't mind, just if you tap in on this question, feel free to just give yourself a 30-second outro explaining what you guys are doing, how people might be able to get in contact with you if they're more interested in learning about your project. Likewise, as we kind of wrap up things here, please give our panelists a big thank you and give them a follow. I know that they would greatly appreciate it as much as we do. It allows us to kind of keep things going as well. So the last question that I want to ask is, by combining digital identity with DApps, will it help in the discoverability of new DApps that are coming up? What I mean by that is will it help improve search algorithms, social recommendations, and community-driven type of curation, or UGC, user-generated content, more? What's your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I didn't get the question myself. If you can repeat, please.
Yeah. By combining both digital identity and DApps, will that help with the discoverability of new DApps that are coming out or existing DApps? For an example, will that help with search algorithms, social recommendations, community-driven curation, UGC type content being created?
I think that it would help with more easier to acquire users, both within Web3 and they are outside from Web3. Because if you can onboard as easy as you can onboard in Web2, like adding your connect with Google or whatever is it, if you can create that experience in Web3, then it will much easier for people to onboard. For people in Web2 to move to Web3, I think it's also a better experience, because if you could basically identify and create that identifier like when you do when unlocking your phone, for instance, instead of having to create a wallet, that also helps in general to grow.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at this group of people here, and there's a lot of blue check marks, right? So where did that come from? That come from Twitter, okay? And Microsoft has the same thing, and Google has the same thing. I mean, what they're wanting to say is that's you. I know it's you. So, but that's in a silo. So how do we get it? The answer to the question is, yeah, it will, because if every social media, every place you want to contribute user contributed content and all that kind of stuff knows who you are, and you're not a robot or whatever, then it's going to help. Yeah, I mean, across the board. And the whole thing is we got to get our data out of these silos, right? These when I speak on my iPhone to my wife about some kind of this esoteric problem, and the next day it pops up, an advertisement about that. Well, wow, okay. So there's those two problems, and it's going to be solved. Yeah, just like the Bitcoin monetary system is solving global commerce, but be interesting to see how it actually plays out.
Yeah,
I'd like to add on to that. Sorry, yeah. Zippy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to answer the part where you talk about user-generated content. And if you have digital identity kind of in the DNA of your decentralized applications, then we will have like more surety that the user-generated content is done by a person and not some scaled out AI agent. So that would be more valuable when we're trying to evaluate these organic communities. Does this DApp have actual users? Because as time goes by, it's going to be more and more easy for unethical actors to kind of fake that. And I think that digital identity will make it easier to identify the more valuable dApps and communities as that becomes more and more at the forefront of the future of Web3. So in terms of discoverability of new dApps, I don't know if you'll find them easier, but you'll be able to at least sort the wheat from the chaff in a different way.
Yeah. We think it's going to help, obviously, with the new dApps and the future dApps, because it'll be easier for these applications to onboard users. And also, if the ID is tied to a wallet, it also helps for use across all platforms, which might also be good for cross-chain. And we also think that it will obviously build up trust and credibility among these dApps, because obviously users would love to explore ways to actually engage with other dApps within the ecosystem. And lastly, I don't know, I think one of the panelists runs a launchpad. I think it's Spicy Capital, if I'm not wrong. But we would love to connect after this call or after this space.
Yeah,
Adding
no,
on to
definitely completely down to connect, bro. So yeah, just drop a DM and yeah, man, let's chat.
Awesome. And just putting in my point here, especially echoing what Lawrence mentioned regarding the silos of data, especially within your Facebooks and Googles and Instagrams. Everyone has their own what do you call an interest graph, right? That is basically what created your social feed across Twitter and Facebook. And what DID sort of solves for or brings forward is a portable social graph that any DApp or any platform, let it be social media or other kind of platforms, can tap into. And the other panelists also mentioned, that helps in the discoverability, and that helps in identifying other communities, other dApps, and for the DApp itself to sort of suggest to me what would I like best. Currently what's happening is all of this data is siloed into the big players, which sort of limits everyone else to provide you that sort of a very curated experience. And a DID with a portable graph helps solve for it. And just adding more to it, that at Play AI, we are building something similar to focus at gaming. So imagine, sort of like a portable gaming graph that, can help games to personalize your experience using AI tools or AI agents.
Good afternoon, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm all good, thanks. Am I okay to ask a question?
Sure, go for it.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I'm here because I saw Spicy Capital sort of come up on my notifications, and there's some other familiar faces in here, so cool, great. So yeah, I mean, we are about to deploy our mainnet on EVM. So, in particular, Binance Smart Chain, Optimism, AVAX, Polygon, and such. We might want to deploy on your chain, but the issue, our main criteria is there has to be like 1 billion in TVL for us to get some market share. And if we were to kind of deploy our EVM contract on your chain, you say it's interoperable, but how is it interoperable, and how would we benefit from? Because there's a lot of projects that claim interoperability, but it's not always, they don't always mean the same thing. So I don't know. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, just to kind of give you a high level, that's why we don't use the term interoperable. We use it to kind of explain what XTalk is. XTalk is far more than just, the capabilities of bridging. We don't use a bridge. Our proprietary technology allows us to literally integrate natively in with chains. Our whole ethos is that we want to, basically not compete with all the chains out there. We want to unite all the chains, because if you look at the true ethos of what Web3 is all about, is that in the future, no one will care what chain they're on. They just want to know that their experience works for them. They want to be able to just jump on an interface and be able to interact with a chain or a DApp that is on Ethereum, while being able to pull in their NFTs for that particular game or DApp that they're using, maybe over on Avalanche or Cosmos or something like that. And that's where I'm saying having a unified thing. So sorry, I'm not jumping into the technical aspects of it right now just because of time, but happy to talk to you a little bit more about it offline. But a lot of that has to do with our secret sauce and why we are who we are. I mean, if you want to test our interoperability capabilities, one thing that I would definitely recommend is, if you haven't tried the L1Xapp.com swap, where you can literally swap cross-chain. We've been doing tons of different comparisons against Stargate, Squid, places like that. And we're in most cases a third to a fifth of the cost of those guys, plus the speed is unmatched, unparalleled when it comes to that. And that's all because of our interoperability talk, or our XTalk. And it's the ability to not only move assets, but it's also the ability to move data and logic. And so, we want to do for data what Bitcoin did for payments, right? And that's our big thing that we're trying to drive home. So, would love to talk to you a little bit more about our interoperability capabilities. Happy to drive into the technical aspects of it, but like I said, we're almost 15 minutes over right now, so I want to be cautious of everybody's time. So let's definitely connect after this.
Sure. I'll DM you, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like if we were to deploy our EVM contract there on your chain, that basically means that our users would be able to kind of move value from one of our deployments to another chain via your basically deployment, I think. Anyway, we'll chat after. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a real world example of what we've currently already done is with a game called Elderune. It's one of our kind of flagship launched games that are going to be launching with us when we go live here on the 2nd of April. Is regardless of the chain that they've built on, if you interact with it through the through L1X, as kind of your gateway into their ecosystem, you can play it on that chain. The project doesn't even need to move chains. You can deploy it on whatever chain you want, interact with it on L1X, and be able to pull in as many different things as possible. So for us, gamers are able to come to L1X, play it. They won't even know what chain it's on. All they know is that they come to L1X to play on it. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question. So thanks everybody for attending. I apologize for running a few minutes over, but I think that it was a great discussion, great questions by everybody. We definitely want to give our panelists a big thank you. Again, if you haven't, please go ahead and give our panelists a like. Be sure to check out their projects. It sounds like they've got some pretty good things going. And thanks for everybody contributing your expertise. Sounds like we've had some very OG people in the crypto space attend today, and I always love hearing from them. It's always good to hear from people that are in the trenches every single day trying to make change. And so we applaud you. We know it's not an easy task with regulatory, with those naysayers out there about innovation. But all I can definitely say is, definitely keep pushing the boundaries, and we're going to keep moving forward in this thing we called crypto. So thanks everybody for attending. We appreciate it, and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.